Hello, and welcome to my session of Business Analysis and Agile Methodologies. My name is Akshay. People also call me as Trainer AK, which I'm fine with, and I'm here to give you an introductory demo on business analysis and a little bit about Agile methodologies. So what is this program? It's a 40-hour session training program, and I'd like to make it as interactive as possible rather than a one-sided conversation or lecture. So I definitely appreciate discussions and questions during this course to make it more lively and not a boring conversation. So we're going to have about 20 sessions which will last 2 hours each during this course, and we're going to have regular homework assignments, and we're also going to review these questions and answers to some extent during these sessions. And I want to make sure that every assignment will give us some sort of learning during the course. And at the end of the course, we're also going to go over some case studies and at some point a little bit about resume assistance and mock interview sessions as well. So we've heard this term by now. We're familiar with the term of business analysis and a business analyst. But what is a business analyst? Who is a business analyst? What are the roles? What are the responsibilities? And what is the objective? So a business analyst understands a stakeholder's problems and challenges and identifies what are their business needs to determine a feasible solution. Now remember, it's a proposal to this business problems and challenges and not a solution implementation. Solution implementation is something that's done by the project team, whereas a business analyst, after a lot of brainstorming sessions and requirement gathering sessions, based on the analysis, we propose a solution to the project team and the stakeholder. So what are some examples of these? We could build it from scratch. Could be a web application, desktop application, mobile application. So everything is going to start from the beginning, which is a fairly large-scale project, or it could even be changes to an existing process or system, right? Building individual components or modifying existing components to make the system work to today's needs and requirements, right? So essentially, a business analyst acts as a liaison between a stakeholder and the project team. So you're there between these two sides trying to understand and assess what are the needs, what are the challenges, and what is a feasible solution. So let's talk about what is needed to be a good business analyst then. Since we use the word liaison between both sides, by now we should be able to agree that communication is very important during this process. Being able to communicate between both sides is very important for a business analyst because on one side, the client is telling you all their problems, challenges, needs, and what are they trying to accomplish. And on the other side, you would have to explain it to your project team on what we're trying to accomplish here and what is the proposed solution here, right? Now, this technology team can come back to you and say, here is our proposed solution implementation, but here are also our limits and challenges, right? So now you have to address these limits and challenges by discussing with the stakeholder again. So you're going back and forth between both sides, and being able to communicate effectively is going to make a significant impact on the overall project. Now, during these brainstorming sessions with stakeholders, discussion topics with different team members, you have to understand that listening is probably one of the most important things, one of the most basic things during these sessions, right? Being able to listen and understand what each person is saying will help you understand what is the real problem, what is the real challenge, and what is a possible solution. Now, just because we're listening to everything doesn't mean we have to address everything, right? And that's where the analytical skills kicks in during this process. because, for example, a stakeholder can give you 100 things to address, which will cost you, let's say, $10 million in 5 years to complete the project. Is that realistic? Technically, no. But would the stakeholder be concerned about all that? Most likely, it's not his concern. He's going to ask you to figure it out. So that's where being analytical helps, because after all these sessions, we're trying to assess what is the problem, what are the challenges, what are the needs, and based on that, let's work on a feasible solution to address the real problem there. So you should be able to distinguish the requirements that they're proposing on what is really needed and what is a nice to have item during this process. So we're going to talk in even more depth and detail about should have requirements and must have requirements during your requirement gathering session. But the bottom line is listening is important, being able to communicate is important, and also analyzing and assessing on what the real challenge is and what is going to solve the problem is really the key here. So at some point, a business analyst will also be involved in presentations. So you're going back and forth between the project team and the stakeholders, and you should be presenting them on what the updates are, what are the prototypes, and even when it goes live, there's a lot of contribution from a business analyst towards training manuals, presentation demos, and even assisting the end user to work on those live products. So we're going to talk even more detail about these things when we get into each of the phases during this course. And based on all these conversations, by now we should be able to agree that being a good team player as a business analyst is very important during this, right? Because in every phase, you're working with different parts of the projects and teams and with different teams, and it's important that you be a good player, a team player, and be able to communicate effectively between all sides. So this is a quick overview of what a business analyst would look like, right? So this guy, this little guy right here, is essentially the liaison between the customer, who could be a sponsor, stakeholder, SME, or even product owners on one side, with the actual project team on the other side, right? So this is where the development team comes in, the testing team, the database team, any application support teams, and even project manager and scrum masters would come in under this project team. So this is why communication, listening, analytical skills, and presentation is very important. So this is the high-level curriculum outline of the course. And as you can see, here is a SDLC model, right, that describes each of the phases. So we're not going to spend too much time here to discuss what each phase is and how does it be a contribute in each phase, but keep in mind that the business analyst will be involved in every phase of this project, and this life cycle describes the project end to end, all the way from the beginning, how it is initiated, all the way to going live into production and getting into the maintenance phase. So this life cycle covers all those phases, and we're going to discuss in more detail on what the contributions of a business analyst would be in each of these phases. And here's another overview on how each of the phases evolve. It could be linear according to Waterfall, or it could be parallel as well according to Agile methodology. So that's where all the methodologies kick in to talk about how can we streamline the project phases, right? Should we do it all in one shot, linear, one after the other, or should we break it down to components and do it in different phases, which will come under Agile methodologies. So this was just an overview of what the course is all about, roles-wise, responsibilities-wise, and what are the goals and objectives of each of the phases during a software development lifecycle project. So I hope this has intrigued your interest in taking this course, and I'm looking forward to meet each one of you. Thank you.